Today we're going to talk about some black firsts as far as presidents are concerned. First guy we're going to start off with is a guy named John Hansen, who was a black man. Back then the term they had for that was Moor. He was the first president of the United States in the year 1781 to 1782. George Washington was not the first president of the United States. In fact, the first president of the United States was one John Hansen. Don't go checking the encyclopedia for this guy's name. He is one of those great men that are lost to history. If you're extremely lucky, you may actually find a brief mention of his name. The new country was actually formed on March 1st, 1781 with the adoption of the Articles of Confederation. This document was actually proposed on June 11, 1776, but not agreed upon by Congress until November 15, 1777. Maryland refused to sign this document until Virginia and New York ceded their western lands. Maryland was afraid that these states would gain too much power in the new government from such large amounts of land. Once the signing took place in 1781, a president was needed to run the country. John Hansen was chosen unanimously by Congress, which included George Washington. In fact, all the other potential candidates refused to run against him, as he was a major player in the Revolution and an extremely influential member of Congress. As the first president, Hansen had quite the shoes to fill. No one had ever been president, and the role was poorly defined. His actions in office would set precedent for all future presidents. He took office just as the Revolutionary War ended. Almost immediately, the troops demanded to be paid. As would be expected after any long war, there were no funds to meet the salaries. As a result, the soldiers threatened to overthrow the new government and put Washington on the throne as a monarch. All the members of Congress ran for their lives, leaving Hansen as the only guy left running the government. He somehow managed to calm the troops down and hold the country together. If he had failed, the government would have fallen almost immediately, and everyone would have been bound to King Washington. In fact, Hansen sent 800 pounds of sterling silver by his brother Samuel Hansen to George Washington to provide the troops with shoes. Hansen, as president, ordered all foreign troops off American soil, as well as the removal of all foreign flags. This was quite the feat, considering the fact that so many European countries had a stake in the United States since the days following Columbus. Hansen established the Great Seal of the United States, which all presidents have since been required to use on all official documents. President Hansen also established the first Treasury Department, the first Secretary of War, and the first Foreign Affairs Department. Lastly, he declared that the 4th Thursday of every November was to be Thanksgiving Day, which is still true today. Articles of Confederation only allowed a president to serve a one-year term during any 3-year period, so Hansen actually accomplished quite a bit in such little time. 6 other presidents were elected after him: Elias Boudoir, Thomas Mifflin, Richard Henry Lee, Nathan Gorman, Arthur St. Clair, and Cyrus Griffin, all prior to Washington taking office. So what happened? Why don't we ever hear about the first 7 presidents of the United States? It's quite simple. Articles of Confederation didn't work well. The individual states had too much power and nothing could be agreed upon. A new doctrine needed to be written, something we know as the Constitution. George Washington was definitely not the first president of the United States. He was the first president of the United States under the Constitution we follow today. And that brings us to our next presidents who have black ancestry. The best case for black ancestry is against Warren G. Harding, our 29th president from 1921 until 1923. Harding himself never denied his ancestry. When Republican leaders called on Harding to deny the Negro history, he said, "How should I know whether or not one of my ancestors might have jumped the fence?" William Chancellor, a white professor of economics and politics at Wooster College in Ohio, wrote a book on the Harding family genealogy and identified black ancestors among both parents of President Harding. Justice Department agents allegedly bought and destroyed all copies of this book. Chancellor also said that Harding's only academic credentials included education at Iberia College, which was founded in order to educate fugitive slaves. Andrew Jackson was our 7th president from 1829 to 1837. The Virginia Magazine of History, Volume 29, says that Jackson was the son of a white woman from Ireland who had intermarried with a Negro. The magazine also said that his eldest brother had been sold as a slave in Carolina. Joe Rogers says that Andrew Jackson Sr. died long before President Andrew Jackson Jr. was born. He says the president's mother then went to live on the Crawford farm where there were Negro slaves, and that one of these men was Andrew Jr.'s father. Another account of the brother sold into slavery story can be found in David Call's book entitled Ordeal of the Presidency, written in 1960. Thomas Jefferson was our third president from 1801 to 1809. The chief attack on Jefferson was in a book written by Thomas Hazard in 1867 called The Johnny Cake Papers. Hazard interviewed Paris Gardner, who said he was present during the 1796 presidential campaign, when one speaker states that Thomas Jefferson was a mean-spirited son of a half-breed Indian squaw and a Virginia mulatto father. In his book entitled The Slave Children of Thomas Jefferson, Samuel Sloan wrote that Jefferson destroyed all of the papers, portraits, and personal effects of his mother, Jane Randolph Jefferson, when she died on March 31, 1776. He even wrote letters to every person who had ever received a letter from his mother, asking them to return that letter. Sloan says there is something strange and even psychopathic about the lengths in which Thomas Jefferson went to destroy all remembrances of his mother, while saving over 18,000 copies of his own letters and other documents for posterity. One must ask, what is it he was trying to hide? Abraham Lincoln was our 16th president from 1861 to 1865. J.A. Rogers quotes Lincoln's mother, Nancy Hanks, as saying, Abraham Lincoln was the illegitimate son of an African man. William Herndon, Lincoln's law partner, said that Lincoln had very dark skin and coarse hair and that his mother was from an Ethiopian tribe. In Herndon's book entitled The Hidden Lincoln, he says that Thomas Lincoln could not have been Abraham Lincoln's father because he was sterile from childhood months and was later castrated. Lincoln's presidential opponents made cartoon drawings depicting him as a Negro and nicknamed him Abraham Africanus I. Calvin Coolidge was our 30th president, and he succeeded Warren Harding. He proudly admitted that his mother was dark because of mixed Indian ancestry. However, Dr. Bahufu says that by 1800 the New England Indian was hardly any longer pure Indian because they had mixed so often with blacks. Calvin Coolidge's mother's maiden name was Moore. In Europe, the name Moore was given to all black people just as the name Negro was used in America. All of the presidents mentioned were able to pass for white and never acknowledged their black ancestry. Millions of other children who were descendants of former slaves have also been able to pass for white. And that brings us to our next mixed ancestry president, named Dwight Eisenhower, who served from 1953 to 1961 as the 34th president, whose father was white and whose mother was a mulatto. So see, folks, we've had quote-unquote black presidents before. And if we go back and look throughout history, we actually have a lot of black people who actually ran for president. We have a lot that received a party nomination. In the years 1848 and 1888, Frederick Douglass ran. In 1968, Channing E. Phillips ran. 1972, Shirley Chisholm ran. Frederick Douglass ran in 1848 under the Liberty Party and 1888 under the Republican Party. Channing Phillips and Shirley Chisholm ran on the Democratic Party. In 1972, Walter Fauntroy ran under the Democratic Party. In 1976, Barbara Jordan and Walter Fauntroy both ran under the Democratic Party. 1984 and 1988, Jesse Jackson ran under the Democratic Party. In 1992, you had Douglas Wilder, who ran under the Democratic Party. And also in 1992, you had Alan Keyes run under the Republican Party. Alan Keyes also ran in 96 and 2000 under the Republican Party as well, and in 2008 under the American Independent Party. In 1996, Isabel Masters ran under the Republican Party. In 2000, Angel Joy Rocker ran under the Republican Party. In 2004, you had Carol Mosley Braun run under the Democratic Party. Also in 2004, you had Al Sharpton run under the Democratic Party. And lastly but not least, you had Herman Cain run under the Republican Party for the presidency. And these are the guys that actually received the party's nomination. In 1904, you had a guy named George Edwin Taylor, who ran under the National Liberty Party. In 1960, you had a guy named Clinton King run under the Independent Afro-American Party. 1964, Clifton DeBerry ran under the Socialist Workers' Party. 1968, you had Elridge Cleaver run under the Peace and Freedom Party. Also in 68, you had Dick Gregory run under the Freedom and Peace Party. Also in 1968, you had Charlene Mitchell run under the Communist Party. 1976, you had a lady named Margaret Wright who ran under the People's Party. In 1980, Clifton DeBerry ran under the Socialist Workers' Party. 1980, also Andrew Pulley ran under the Socialist Workers' Party. 1984, Larry Holmes ran under the Workers' World Party. 1984, Dennis Surratt ran under the New Alliance Party. Also in 1984, Edwin Wynn ran under the Socialist Equality Party. 1988, Lenora Fulani ran under the New Alliance Party. Also in 1988, Larry Holmes ran again under the Workers' World Party. 1988, James Warren ran under the Social Workers' Party. Also in 1988, Edward Wynn ran under the Socialist Equality Party. 1992, Ronald Daniels ran under the Peace and Freedom Party. Lenora Fulani ran once again in 1992 under the New Alliance Party. Helen Halyard ran in 1992 under the Workers' League Party. Isabel Masters ran in 1992 under the Looking Back Party. 1992, James Warren ran under the Socialist Workers' Party. 1996, Monica Moorhead ran under the Workers' World Party. Once again, Isabel Masters ran in 1996 under the Looking Back Party. In 2000, James Harris ran under the Socialist Workers' Party. In 2000, Monica Moorhead ran under the Workers' World Party. 2000, Randall Vinson ran under the Independent Party. 2004 and 2008, James Harris ran once again under the Socialist Workers' Party. 2004, John Parker ran under the Workers' World Party. In 2008, Cynthia McKinney ran under the Green Party. 2008 and 2012, Barack Obama ran under the Democratic Party. 2012, you also had Stuart Alexander who ran under the Socialist Party. 2012, you had Andre Barnett ran under the Reform Party. James Harris ran once again under the Socialist Workers' Party. Also in 2012, Peter Lindsay ran under the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And see, most of us don't recognize this information because we take the two choices that are offered to us and we go forward with that because the news media has told us this is all that's running. And unfortunately, when we don't educate ourselves, we don't know other people out there exist. Now, these are candidates that received popular votes for the vice presidential nomination. In 1872, Frederick Douglass received it. 1928, Simon P. Drew. 1932, 36, and 40, James W. Ford received it for the Communist Party. Frederick Douglass was under the Equal Rights Party, and Drew was under the Interracial Independent Party. In 1952, Charlotta Bass was under the Progressive Party. 1968, Paul Boutelle was the Socialist Workers' Party. 1972, Julius Hobson was the People's Party. 1972, Jarvis Tyner was the Communist Party. 1976, Willie Mae Reid was the Socialist Workers' Party. 1976, Jarvis Tyner once again ran the Communist Party. 1980 and 84, Angela Davis ran under the Communist Party. 1984, Helen Halyard, also in 1988, ran under the Socialist Equality Party. 1992, Willie Mae Reid under the Socialist Workers' Party. 1996, Shirley Jean Masters under the Looking Back Party. Year 2000, Izola Foster ran under the Reform Party. 2004, Aaron Hawkins ran under the Socialist Workers' Party, but she was 28 at the time of the nomination, so she was constitutionally ineligible. In 2004, Jim Lawrence ran under the Socialist Equality Party. 2008, you had Stuart Alexander under the Socialist Party. 2008, you had Eugene Pierre, Party for Socialism and Liberation. And these are other people that actually ran for vice president. In 1856, you had Frederick Douglass once again as a political abolitionist. In 1880, you had Blanche Kelso Bruce, who ran under the Republican Party. Also in 1888, Blanche Kelso Bruce ran under the Republican Party. In 1968 and 1972, Julian Bond ran under the Democratic Party. In 72, Shirley Chisholm ran under the Democratic Party. 72, Ron Dellums also ran under the Democratic Party. 1976 was Barbara Jordan under the Democratic Party. In 1980, we had Mel Boozer, who also ran as vice presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. So see, folks, we don't know our history, and we get caught up in the emotions of a situation versus the truth and logic of a situation. We have a rich history when it comes to the presidency and the vice presidency. All we have to do is take time to study it.